Everyone has that one thing that kicks their nostalgia into overdrive. Maybe it's a place, maybe it's a favourite band or song, maybe it's a favourite food, or maybe it's a favourite movie. In my case, it's all of these things, rolled into one. One clumsy, goofy theme park ride which is stuffed to its eyeballs with heart. And at its core, a soul that was larger than life. And this soul was ushered on by a boy who refused to grow up. Who, like many generations preceding and following his own, would often drift off listening to Adventures from Neverland. When I was 11 years old, I actually directed the story during a school production. I have always felt like Peter Pan. I still feel like Peter Pan. It has been very hard for me to grow up. I'm a victim of the Peter Pan syndrome.
I never should have come here. I should have stayed till the deal was done.
You haven't been here for 10 years, though Granny asked you to visit every year.
I've been a little busy, Maura.
You promised the children some real time here.
I
and
just
you haven't
got
even
here. What are you
looked
talking? Everybody just shut up!
I'm sorry.
And leave me alone for one moment more. Get him out of here, will you? I'm on the phone call of my life.
Your children love you. They want to play with you. How long do you think that lasts?
So Hook is a movie that was about hated by every respected voice in the industry, and today we have a pirate's booty chest full of Spielberg regret.
I want to see Hook again because I still don't like that movie, and I'm hoping someday I'll see it again and perhaps like some of it.
It's a shame to me that something that obviously meant so much to Spielberg's life is now looked upon by the man himself with such disdain. Because, you know, Spielberg, I do like some of it. I actually liked a lot of it, and I know I'm not alone in saying that. So welcome to the second episode of Mincin My Words. Today we're looking at 1992's Hook, starring some real heavy hitters of the time such as Dustin Hoffman, Julia Roberts, Maggie Smith, and of course the now unfortunately deceased Robin Williams. There's a lot to dig into in this film because it was famously, or I guess infamously, up shit creek long before its commercially successful but critically lambasted release. The film was given a 76-day shooting schedule, but it's believed that a very chilled out approach to the production with regular set visits from some of Spielberg's A-list buddies meant that a bit too much time was spent playing liar's dice, and an extra 40 days had to be added before the production could actually wrap. The initial budget of the film had to be dramatically increased too, due to Spielberg's admitted insecurities over the film's shortcomings. If that wasn't enough, there were strained relationships as well between Spielberg and some of the cast, most notably Roberts, with whom the director did not work again, so great was the rift between them. And look, while I can see and very much appreciate a lot of this movie's shortcomings, which I will get into, I'm blinded once again by those nostalgia goggles, because goddammit the lead performances in this movie are an absolute riot. I have to specifically point out Dustin Hoffman as Hook.
See how greatly the men favour you, sir? The puling spawn, how I despise them. Go get them, Captain! Yes.
In the cartoon, he was always kind of terrifying to me as a character, and it was clear to me that Hook was the boss, and Smee was just this underling manservant, and little else. But here, I don't know whether it was the written intention, or if it was just a natural development between Bob Hoskins and Hoffman, but some party made these two into a married couple, and I'm so glad.
An epiphany. Epiphany what? My life is over. Does that mean you've lost your appetite? Yes. Oh, goodbye.
Don't try to stop me, Smee.
I'm not again. This is it.
Don't try to stop me this time, Smee. Don't try to stop me this time, Smee. Don't you dare try to stop me this time, Smee. Try to stop me.
So those two are wonderful, and so too is Robin Williams, which is hardly a surprise. I watched this movie a lot as a kid, and I just remember wishing that this guy was my dad. Every moment this guy is on screen is just great, especially when John Williams' magnum opus is blaring from the TV while he's soaring over Neverland. This guy, not so much. But the moments where this guy and this guy become one, I have to say I do enjoy the drama. It works on an emotional level for me. If you told someone that hadn't seen the film that the emotional core here would come from the premise that Peter has been a terrible dad to his children, and now there's a chance that Captain Hook can be there for Jack and be the father he never had, then that person could be forgiven if they promptly showed you their middle hook and walked away. So now that we're kind of in the territory of the plot, let's talk about something that doesn't really work, and that is the plot. This is a movie of moments, of independent moments without much in the way of compelling adhesion between them. Spielberg is right when he says that the first act and the epilogue are the strongest elements where this is concerned, from a filmmaking perspective. Because even though the grouchy old Peter is far less entertaining to watch than Spandex Peter is, these areas of the movie are free from the safety net of the super high budget, so there's no way that Spielberg can paper over any cracks in his story at these points. However, I can tell you that these sections were 100% my least favourite parts of the movie as a kid. And that's kind of where the problems lie, tonally at least. I'd wager with confidence that that is a sentiment that's held by many who grew up watching this movie. It's really interesting to me that the parts that work best from a filmmaking perspective also happen to be the least engaging to the target audience. I think that this is where much of the conflicting critics' feedback and the audience ratings stem from. Most of these high scores were probably cast by those who loved the colourful nonsense in the main body of the film, but shut their brains off during the dark and depressing family drama stuff. Whereas the critics were most likely so focused on how egregious the mince was in the middle that they felt that the interesting opening act was ripped away from them as the film progressed, and perhaps the tonal whiplash was a bit too much for them. It's kind of a fascinating case study, and if Spielberg had doubled down on one of these two ideas, rather than trying to blend them together, then I imagine that the response would have been kinder. But then I guess you could say that that's the point, in that the first act is to show that there is a lack of childish wonder in our existence that makes the injection of life in the middle so much more impactful. So, I don't know, Steven. I guess you're in a bit of a corner here. Regardless, I still like your movie, and you shouldn't be so hard on yourself. It's miles better than this tire fire.
Who are you?
I'm Peter Panning, attorney at law. Those are my children, and I want them back. Please.
Those are your
children.
These are your children.
Yes, they are.
And you're
Peter.
You're Peter.
Yes.
You're Peter.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
You're Peter.
Yes. Is there an echo in here?
Many people also point at the Play-Doh invisible food scene as a highlight too. Robin Williams does some great work alongside these kids, and a lot of them do quite a good job in the film. The fan favourite is of course the 90s style icon that is Rufio. I missed this cool kid emo phase, so he didn't really speak to me. You see, I kinda missed the cool part in general, so deep down I knew there was really no hope. This movie is also famous for its laughable fight choreography, but again, I have to tell you that as a kid I couldn't care less. I would still go to the supermarket with my family and see one of those big bright foam swords and start slicing and dicing my unarmed sister while my not Peter Pan dad would look on in shame. So I guess, to round up, I would say that there are two movies in here it feels like. One for the adults and the sadists who like seeing dysfunctional family affairs with some corporate mumbo-jumbo sprinkled in for good measure. I would advise that the kids stay asleep for this part. And one where the children and those that refuse to grow up can enjoy, where the adults can start doing their taxes. I'm at a point where I actually find the first act quite compelling, and I get so much enjoyment from the performances and John Williams' score in the middle section, and Hoffman is just hamming it up and having so much fun that it's infectious, and Robin Williams does Robin Williams things. He has a good opportunity here to show his dramatic chops in the dark horror act, and his more exaggerated playful side in the Neverland stuff. So those two things are going to elevate this movie, so it's only going to receive a 3 out of 5 on the mince meter. But without those things which carry a lackluster screenplay, I think I'd personally turn off the swashbuckling stuff myself. I think there were more issues with this movie as an artistic endeavour than there were with the Power Rangers movie, because, you know, it shoots for something a bit more complex, and it's very much a result of the Power Rangers movie knew what it was, and it knew how to cater to its audience, whereas I think Spielberg is a bit confused with this one. I do have to say as well, I don't really know what the movie exists to say. What do we learn in this story that, you know, this story is a direct sequel to the original, it's not a remake, so you'd think that there would be a different lesson to learn while watching it. Yet it treads the same ground and it has the same message about not letting your childhood wonder leave you in adulthood. It seems that the movie perhaps exists as a critique of what it takes to succeed financially within modern America, and how this can have an adverse effect on the family relationships. But then again, I would question, is this really what's going to engage your target audience here? It reminds me of George Lucas when he tried to entertain children with a 2-hour political chess match. This movie is also way too long. There is no reason for it to be 2 hours 25. If you're trying to keep the attention of your target audience, which in this case happens to be, I would assume, children, a 2-hour 25 movie isn't going to be the way to do it.
Smee, you better get up off your ass. Get over here, Smee. I'm coming. Smee, this is not a joke. I'm committing suicide.
It's clear that Spielberg had a real passion for this story and wanted to have his own spin on it, but that's really what he should have done. I think he should have remade the original rather than shooting for this strange sequel. So thanks for watching. This is a movie that I feel very passionately about, and I was really looking forward to talking about on this channel. Be sure to let me know what your main source of nostalgia is. It doesn't even need to be a movie, just let me know some of the things that take you to your happy place. Also, please give the video a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next episode of Mincin My Words.
Oh, come back anytime. Bring your friends.